Oh, okay. So
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So John's here. That's one of your guys. What does he bring to the special teams room? And whoa, that's loud. What does he bring to the special teams unit? And how much input did you have on saying, like, maybe pounding the table for him?
John Radigan?
Yeah.
You're doing that. John, I have a history together. We got him as an undrafted free agent in Seattle. So that's always, he was an impact special teams player from the very beginning there, and always interested in seeing what was going to happen when Seattle released him. That was a certain person of interest. He brings a great spirit and a great player, good attitude, cares about special teams, takes it really seriously, and hopefully can bring guys with him.
You guys brought in a bunch of young DBs, Jamie Sherritt. Like, how do those guys factor into week one planning when you haven't really dealt with them outside of, like, Wednesday's practice?
Yeah, NFL, you don't really have time for that. You got to go. So the guys that are going to be active have to play and get ready as fast as they can, trying to blend what they did before with what we're doing now. So there's a little kind of combination of some guys on their day 50 training and some guys on day 2. So we're catching everybody up to speed. Each week you're learning week to week what you have to do to get ready, so they're learning right with the other guys. Not everybody's doing, even the ones that have been here are not doing the exact same thing they're doing in the preseason anyway. So it's a learning experience for everybody, getting to figure out what they can do through the video of what they did before and what we want to do against the Saints kind of thing, and blending that together as best we can.
Tracy, league-wide, what did the data tell you about kickoffs in the preseason, and does it even apply?
Okay. Nationally, it was very similar to previous years as far as guys were kicking the ball to the returner and seeing what happened. And that's how it's always been, Darren, whether or not that matched the regular season. Going to give you a big we'll see. On the rest of it, I think it'll be team to team, probably week to week, as far as, especially in the early part of the season where the weather says that you can dictate a touchback or not as the kickoff team. There's been, it's like mid-20s drive starts in a lot of these games, depending on the weather, depending on what the kickoff teams were trying. So we'll see where we go. That's a decision that kind of involves a lot of us as far as what our particular strategy would be.
In what ways does Eddie Piñeiro's strengths, how would you use Eddie Piñeiro's strengths when applying it to the kicking game?
Eddie gives us a lot of options with his soccer background and the way he can move the ball around. So he kind of opens up the field in this particular way. It's decreased the necessary pure power necessity in the kicker. So some of the guys that have better placement, better accuracy, some of the better field goal kickers can kind of do some things that other guys can't on the kickoffs. So we, week by week, learn what we can do and what we can cover.
Seeing teams in the preseason kind of get funky with that, with squibs and other stuff. Do you think once the regular season starts, we'll see even more of that kind of stuff in the landing zone, or what do you think?
I think in the first year of this rule, it's challenging to ask a kicker to do something he hasn't done on TV before. Those kind of things, like when it's real. So I think we'll see what teams have practiced, and then also what they did in the preseason games as part of their strategy. Because if you're really hiding something, you better be sure before you get out there. So you saw us do a lot of things in the preseason. We tried short, we tried deep, we tried whatever we had, because it's the first time for everybody. There's not a kicker in the world that stood back there by himself to kick the ball and all these different things we're asking him to do. So it's challenging to know what's game ready and what's not.
Tracy, what's your philosophy on punt return platoons, as far as, like, some coordinators would use, like, a safe punt returner who can obviously catch the ball, maybe not the most elusive, and then maybe later in the game they bring in kind of the dynamic guy. Do you believe in stuff like that, or is it just really just trust your guys?
I believe in punt return as a defensive play. It's the last play of the defensive series. So you're playing the situation the same as the defensive coordinator is. If it's 4th and 1, you have a different attitude than if it's 4th and 21. So it's more of that than maybe game score, then strictly like first half, second half, or later in the game, situational. And then you play with whoever you have. You play with your team.
Has it been a major adjustment or a minor adjustment for you with all the rule changes and all? How have you, much studying have you had to do to figure out what you wanted to do?
The biggest adjustment is there's no history to watch on it. You know, there's been rule tweaks on special teams. If you follow it for the last, 10 years, there's always something, but it generally relates to something else. This was, we can only compare what we were doing at practice and our results to, that was the only evidence we had to go on whether something worked or didn't work. So there's just no backlog of history to go on. So in that way, it's quite a bit different.
Tracy, Sam Franklin earned captaincy among the special teams. Obviously hasn't been out there as much with his injury. What does that say about him to earn it even while he's not been out there?
He's got a reputation here. He's played really well for a long time, and then his spirit hasn't left in any way. He doesn't miss a meeting. He is in there with the guys as much as he possibly can. He's attacking rehab like you've never seen before kind of thing. So the guys every day they feel Sam's presence, and he never stops talking. So there's that part of it there. So it wasn't an official campaign, but we'll just say it worked.
In the past, he was one of the guys that kind of brought an edge to that phase.
Yeah.
Is there a guy that you have right now who kind of fills that void while he's out?
We're going to say everybody with a Panthers helmet hopefully has a version of that. Sam does it vocally. Not everybody plays exactly the same way, but yeah, that's the spirit you're going for. You're out there for one play, and you're trying to win that play, and then you're off and trying to pick up the pieces and try it again.
Jordan Matthews had played like 50 combined special teams plays his first 9 years in the league. He played 19 last year. Now it seems like he's going to have to do that pretty heavily now. How has he improved throughout the summer in that phase?
You spoke to Jordan before. He's a worker. He's serious about it. He takes it seriously every day. And then that's part of that position switch. If you're going to go and become a tight end and work your way up from the bottom again, that involves a lot of special teams. Any of the backup tight ends have to do that. He has a special skill set at that position that gives him an advantage. So he's trying to utilize that as good as he can.
Dealing with changes in personnel and a lot of roster turnover is kind of endemic to your job. Is this last week and a half, 2 weeks, been even more than you're used to dealing with all the waiver claims and new guys coming in?
We had a year like this in Houston as part of the Laramie Tunsil trade, where we ended up with 6 or 7 guys that were on the opening roster, and that was with preseason 4 right into week 1, so that was even tighter. Our opener was at New Orleans that particular year also. So that one was one that was particularly kind of roster churny. This is a lot of new guys that'll be involved for sure. The sorting out defensive positions has a lot to do with special teams. So we're working through it, but we didn't take anybody from their house. Nobody's coming straight from college. They all had a preseason. It just didn't happen to be here. So we're using that training. There's no one who saw this kickoff for the first time yesterday. So we're taking that and kind of trying to blend the knowledge that they have from all the different places.
What's your approach to kind of incorporating new guys, not just from a rules kickoff kind of standpoint, but just the human element of, hey, meet your new teammate?
We start the meeting. Whoever's new, they introduce themselves. We work through the personal part of it. Where you're from, what do you do, why are you here, kind of thing. So they get to put their own stamp on their introduction, and then we don't have any time to waste, so they're in. The guys meet them because they're next to them. Like, oh, hi. And we don't call anybody by their jersey number around here, so we got to figure out who our guys are. We had an introduction today, where that's part of this game.
Tracy, which punt or kickoff is Raheem, you think, better at?
Skill set lends to both. It depends on the particular ball, but he's been really dynamic with the ball in his hands. So anytime you can get him one, let's go. If there's space, better. If we're blocking, then he's great at anything.
We heard people say that with the new kickoff rules, that it's almost more like a running play. Mm-hmm. Did that factor in the decision to go with Raheem over maybe a receiver?
Okay, there are definitely elements of that. I think it's always been that way, where if you have a strong running back, a tackle breaker, it doesn't have to be a running back, but a tackle breaker on the kickoff return, it's more like that. Punt return is more scattered. There's more varied. It's more kind of like a screen pass or an interception return. There's more stuff everywhere. Kickoff return's always been a bit more structured. So I don't think it's changed in that way. But now this thing has put a lot more decisions on the returner to figure out, okay, is this a ball on the ground? What am I doing with this? Is it deep? All those things, it's become more challenging. So it's nice to have an experienced guy back there with the ball.
You can track the skill set. Are you looking for the new kickoff? Are you looking for something different than you looked for previously, or is it pretty much the same?
I think it's the best guy you can possibly get. They all have to be strong, fast, have good vision, be able to change direction, react to what they're seeing. You're looking for the best football player you can have with the ball.
Circle back to Darren's question. Guys that you used a personal protector and gunners
Sure.
Throughout the preseason, you lost some of those guys. Do you like having the ability to kind of disguise who you're going to go in with in those roles now that you have the opportunity to have new guys in those roles this week?
I don't think we're any more disguised than the Saints are. Everybody's playing the preseason with a 90-man roster, and everybody's working everybody out on special teams. So I'd say if we were guessing theirs and they were guessing ours, it'd be about the same. So there's always an element to week one of let's see what we got and be able to adjust on the fly to what you're getting.